Hi class, this is going to be a very quick video just to go over some of the names of your igneous rocks. So I will post this on Canvas. This is a image of your igneous rock identification chart. The main two things that you're looking for: on the left you have texture. So we have the 5 different textures that we really talked about. We have coarse grained, which are your large crystals, fine grained, which are your small crystals, and these correspond to how quickly or slowly these igneous rocks cooled. So coarse grained would have cooled very slowly over a long period of time. Fine grained would have cooled very quickly on the surface of the earth and been volcanic rocks. The next one would be porphyritic, if it has a little bit of both coarse and fine grained. The next one would be glassy, and pretty much the only name for a glassy rock is going to be obsidian, which I'll show you in just a little bit. And then the last one is going to be vesicular. That means it has holes in it. It says contains voids. And there's 2 types of vesicular rocks. So I will kind of go through each of these pretty quickly. The other way that you identify these is by mineral composition or color, in a way. And so your first column is going to be felsic. These are going to be your granitic rocks, and you can see granite right here is one of your choices. The middle one is going to be intermediate. I have 1 or 2 intermediate rocks, but we don't have a lot, and they're not going to be a part of this lab, so I'm not going to talk a lot about them today. We did talk about them in the lecture. And then the last one is going to be mafic. These are going to be generally your dark minerals. And the other name for mafic is going to be basaltic, and you can see basalt is one of the main rocks here. And so I'm going to go through these really quickly just to show you what some of these rocks look like and to give you a couple examples. So here I have your 4 major rock types. You can see on the left I have your mineral composition. So we have felsic, light colored rocks on top. We have basaltic, dark colored rocks on bottom. And I also have them sorted from coarse grain on the left and fine grained on the right. And so we're going to start here with the main rock that we see on the Earth's surface. One of the most common ones is granite. You can see there's lots of different colors here. You usually have some white quartz pieces. There's also some clear quartz. These white pieces could be your feldspars. I've not actually analyzed this specific piece, but these white pieces could be large chunks of feldspars, and your quartz actually in this case could be some of the pink ones. Know that they kind of can take on any color. And then you have some dark flecks of what's possibly biotite, but probably an amphibole like hornblende. So this is a classic granite color, mostly light colored, some specks of dark color, but generally what we would consider on the chart as a light colored felsic rock. Here's another example of granite. This one's a little bit darker. The feldspars are more of like a brown color, and your quartz is more like a reddish pink color. Not a lot of white here, but still the mineral composition of this rock is a light colored felsic rock just because of the minerals that are in there. So it's not always light and dark. It sometimes is as clear cut as that, but you usually do have to kind of consider it a little bit. Moving on, here's the rhyolite. So this is going to be the same kind of mineral composition as a granite, but instead of cooling underneath the Earth's surface as an intrusive rock, rhyolite is going to be an extrusive rock or a volcanic rock. So this would have been ejected out into the surface during a volcanic eruption. You can see there's not a lot of big mineral grains. This one has some larger mineral grains in between here, and this could possibly be considered a porphyritic rock, but I'm going to say no. This is mostly, the vast majority of this is really fine grained. You can't really see any large grains. You could if you had like a microscope a little bit. They wouldn't be large, but you could see them a little better. But this is a fine-grained rock where you can't really see. This one is also like a dark red, kind of pinkish color. And so anything other than black is generally going to be considered a light-grained rock. Here's another example of a rhyolite. This one's more white and pink altogether. And so you can see a lot of white here, a couple bands of pink. You don't really see any large crystal grains. like you would in the granite here. You can see all these large crystal grains kind of shining back at you. And even here on the cut side of granite, this is a cut face that somebody did with a saw. You can see all the large crystals in there. And so here you don't really get to see any of that. This is a fine grain rock. So you see the two differences. These are both felsic rocks, light in color. You have lots of silica, oxygen, and aluminum. The granite is going to be your coarse grained with big crystals that cooled very slowly underneath the surface. Your rhyolite is going to be your fine grained with small crystals that cooled very quickly on top of the surface. Moving on to our basaltic dark colored rocks. Both of these are high in magnesium and iron. Going to be low in silicate. They both look very similar from a distance. In this video, you might not be able to tell them apart super readily. The gabbro is going to be your coarse grained. The basalt is going to be your fine grained. And if I bring these up closer to the camera, you can really see the difference between these. As I move the gabbro around, you can see these large crystal faces kind of shining back at you. They're all the same color, and so until you get up close, it may look like these are very similar rocks. But I hope that you can see with the light here that the gabbro has a lot bigger crystals that you can easily see with your bare eye. You don't need a microscope or a magnifying glass or anything. Where the basalt is dark colored, very similar to the rhyolite, but just more black minerals. And so there's not a lot going on here on the surface, no big crystal faces. This would have cooled, the gabbro would have cooled inside the earth very slowly. The basalt would have cooled as a volcanic rock on the surface very, very quickly. And just a quick example, these two would probably be intermediate rocks, a little bit higher in dark mineral content. They're still pretty light, and even compared to the granite, you might think that they're lighter than the granite. But both of these would be pretty close representations of intermediate rocks. We're not going to see those in the lab. I just wanted to show them to you pretty quickly. So trying to go through this very quick because I think the bell's about to ring and I'm going to have students in here. I will bring in the next set, which here we have obsidian. You can really see that this is glassy. On this piece you see the nice conchoidal fracture, this curved, almost like broken glass kind of fracture on it. Hope you can see that shining in the light there. So this, it just pretty much looks like a big chunk of glass. This is going to be obsidian. This is cooling very, very quickly as a volcanic rock. You can break that up and make arrowheads out of it. So a lot of arrowheads made by Native Americans in this part of the world were from obsidian. Here's just another two examples of granite and rhyolite. This is a little bit darker piece of rhyolite. On the other side, it's actually a little bit lighter. But large grain versus small grain. And then over here, we have our two vesicular rocks. This one is pumice, and this one is scoria. I don't have a great sample of pumice. It just looks kind of like a gray rock, but if you hold it, it feels very light, and you can very much feel the holes inside of it. It's very gritty. On this scoria, you can see the holes inside of it, and so you can see lots of little holes everywhere here and there. This is going to be your dark vesicular rock, which is called scoria, and this is going to be your light vesicular rock, which is called pumice. And so that's just a quick rundown of the types of rocks that you will see on the Igneous lab. And so I will make another video that actually shows you the samples for the lab, just like I did with the mineral lab. So if you have any questions, please send me an email and let me know. And I should be able to either make another video or answer your questions by email. I hope this works out for you and helps you with the lab a little bit. And I hope this is an interesting lab. I've never done one online only, basically by video. So thanks for joining in, and I will talk to you soon.